I think the ability to learn from what we did the first time we played. I'm on a short week. I mentioned this before, but I had way too much in, and I felt like we played tentative. I didn't call a very good game. So now to have the full week process and just see how they played this first time, try to make the proper adjustments, and then see how far we've come since then.
I want to play this real quick. This is definitely not the most important thing, but it's something I've been thinking a lot about as we've seen other quarterbacks, other quarterbacks around the league that are rookies really struggle. And we've seen Caleb Williams at times struggle this year. And obviously a bunch of others, I think of Anthony Richardson, who's a second-year player in Indianapolis. And, he's been able to bounce back. Or, a guy like Bryce Young who has been able to bounce back. And the importance of Marcus Mariota in the quarterback room. Because I think the guys that have had some level of bounce back, Richardson, I think probably less than Bryce Young, but certainly, Bryce has had Andy Dalton. Richardson has had Joe Flacco. A guy like Caleb Williams doesn't have anybody. He's got Tyson Bagent as his backup. So what is it that you need in a veteran quarterback, and why has Marcus Mariota been so tremendously effective as a backup this year? Something that we'll never see because he's not actually playing outside of, ironically, considering some of the people that we're talking about here, outside of that Carolina game.
Incredible. Yeah, he's been phenomenal. I think for all of us, even yesterday he came by right before he left and said, hey, I think we got a little bit of too much of this in. And he was right. He's seen so much football, his path, type of player was in college, type of system he, was kind of forced to play in, if you will, early. And then just to kind of tell his story and show Jayden what it took for him to stay in the league this long and what it's going to take for Jayden to get where he wants to get. He's been open and honest and just phenomenal. I can't say enough good things.
And I think that's so important. And I look at a guy like Caleb who's a younger guy, by the way, and I think needs this even more than Jayden, in Chicago, and I think it's a part of why they perhaps have had so many issues this year with the Bears. There was no one to step to a coach and be like, hey, man, this isn't a good idea. Hey, we're not doing this right. And to put that all on Caleb like they did compared to what the experience has been for Jayden here, I think is tremendous. And Kliff was also asked if there's any specific story he could share about Marcus helping Jayden out.
I just think the way he goes about his business day in, day out, the way he carries himself, the type of respect he has on this team and in that building to be a backup quarterback, you would never know. You think he was a starter. That's the way he's revered in the building because of his work ethic and the way he treats people and his ability. And I think that's just getting to watch him operate on a day-to-day basis. I don't think you put a value on that. It's been so good for Jayden.
So, really important thing that shouldn't get lost in the season, but now it's crunch time, and we'll see just how good Jayden Daniels can be. Number 2 in our pick 6 at 6 is the guy that Jayden Daniels won't have helping him this weekend. It's very likely that Zach Ertz is going to be out with a concussion this weekend, and Kliff knows they got to be a lot better than they were on Sunday after Ertz went out. Kliff asked about how you replace a guy like Zach Ertz.
We did not do a great job of it, that's for sure. You could see we weren't as effective, especially in the red zone there, without him. He's just a guy that's a safety net for a quarterback at all times. He has a knack for getting open, a knack for making the big play, and so I didn't think we handled that great. As a coaching staff, we got to have better answers if something like that happens because he's such a vital part of what we've been doing this year.
And you see it not only in, hey, they lost certain plays because of the personnel groupings and packages, and they tried to sub like Luke McCaffrey in for Zach, I think, on that faded or ill-fated 3rd and 1. They didn't really have a great plan. Be like, let's just run it and see if Luke can do it. And clearly, as they tried to coach it up on the sideline, a couple details got lost in translation, or Luke just doesn't have as many reps at it, whatever the thing may be, or they didn't have other plays they liked better. So now with a week to prepare, as opposed to trying to do some of this on the fly, can you say, all right, we used to run this from this formation with Zach. Can we turn Zach into Jamison Crowder, another guy who's good at winning in the short area, make that split a little bit different as a wide receiver, and run the same concept that Jayden likes? So these are the challenges that you face. Of course, there's also the personnel issue, and you see Zach go down, Noah Brown goes down. God forbid you lose another wide receiver, although you should actually gain one this week in KJ Osborne. Has Kliff ever thought about tapping Joe Witt on the shoulder and be like, hey, can I borrow Mike Sainer still real quick?
Yeah, I told him, I said, I watched his pro day. I said, you're a much better receiver than you are a DB. So anytime you're ready, but I don't think Joe would like that. He's playing so good for them. But yeah, he's a guy who can definitely do it. I was really impressed with his route running. And anytime in Michigan he had a chance to make a play, he made a play. We're not to that point yet, but he's a guy who could definitely do it.
I think it's pretty funny because it's something that clearly at least Kliff has thought about. The former Michigan wide receiver turned DB, turned only Commanders DB who can catch a football. Please, Mikey, keep catching them and teach some of your teammates how to catch as well. A few interceptions would go a long way. We'll get to Joe Witt's side of the ball in just a second, but let's hear Kliff Kingsbury, number 3 in our pick 6 at 6, talk about the Philadelphia Eagles. Got a couple bites here for you from the Commanders OC. First of all, you're getting to see this Eagles defense for a second time. How beneficial is that?
Yeah, I think the ability to learn from what we did the first time we played them on a short week. I mentioned this before, but I had way too much in, and I felt like we played tentative. I didn't call a very good game. So now to have the full week process and just see how they played this first time, try to make the proper adjustments, and then see how far we've come since then. I think that's going to be the exciting part. But they've done a tremendous job, Coach Fangio, defensively. I mean, the improvements they made from last year and just watching them week to week, critical moments, the way they're playing. It's been impressive to see the job he's done. It'll be a huge challenge, but I think we're a different team, they're a different team, and hopefully we can play at a lot higher level than we did the first time.
Forget the short rest, forget the rematch. What's the most important thing, the biggest challenge for Kliff Kingsbury in this offense against a top-rated Eagles defense?
Yeah, avoid negative plays. I thought that was really our Achilles heel the first time. Some first and second down sacks. Obviously, we turned the ball over, but I think last week, we had 8 sacks, I think 17 negative plays, which is not what we do. And that against this team, if you're in second and long, third and long throughout the game, it's going to be tough sledding because they got some guys up front that can rush to the passer, they can play shell coverage and make it a long day for you.
They certainly can, and they also stop the run really well. And they play these too high shells all the time pretty much, and they rotate out of them quite a bit. And in fact, they rotated out of them more against the Commanders than basically any other team that they faced this season. They really got into some single high stuff and wound up having that extra defender hanging around the box, but they're always starting in that same shell, which makes it really hard for Jayden to get a pre-snap read. So can you run the ball against this team? Can you get them out of that too high shell? Kliff Kingsbury says good luck with that.
Yeah, I mean, he's, like I said, that 2 guys inside there have done a great job of, even if they empty the box out, really making the run game difficult. Not many people have been able to establish it. Baltimore is one of the best teams in running the football, and it was kind of tough sledding for them. So we just have to be able to take what they give us and like I said, stay on schedule, and we have a chance to make big plays we got to make.
So that's Kliff Kingsbury on the Commanders offense. Jayden Daniels and company going against this Philadelphia defense this weekend. Second time around. Can they be better? Joe Witt Jr., he's got a challenge as well. A Eagles offense that got a monster fourth quarter last time out against Washington. Saquon busting big ones. And, of course, the passing game got going last week against Pittsburgh. So we'll hear from Witt on the Eagles offense next. But first, let's get an update on the latest in the world of women's sports presented by Wawa. Chicken how you wanna at Wawa with customizable crispy or roasted chicken sandwiches.